我们下面倾听 Dolenc 教授看他是怎样在生命的禁区里边跳舞，怎样超越一个又一个的珠穆朗玛。欢迎 Dolenc Professor。
Many of you are tired already, so I will not be offended if somebody will leave. I would like to thank for the opportunity to be here. Thanks to my friend Juha and to the organizer. And I have to admit that every time when I come to China, I'm again and again surprised so much positively. And to listen to the last presentation, I feel myself really old-fashioned, not anymore in the picture, because the advancements and the organizing and to bring all the advancements together, it looks so promising, and it is the reality already now. One time in the past, I was asked in the United States how I see the final goal of neurosurgery. And I said, I see the final goal that neurosurgery will not exist anymore. They said, how do you think? I said, because the other treatments, the other modalities of treatment of neural diseases are improving so fast and so much that we have to keep this competition to refine neurosurgery more and more into the micro world, that finally we will meet the other modalities of treatment of neurodiseases at the surface of the cell, or maybe even inside the cell. So that was my meaning, how neurosurgery will disappear. But in other words, it will be more refined, more fine, less destructive, less dangerous, less difficult. And if younger generations think, oh, this is good, no, this is not good. The younger generation has to perform more, has to invest more to be capable to keep on in this competition. Now, if you allow me, I would like to bring you a little bit into the past. When I was a student, I was sailor, and I hold the sail and pull it down, and I cut my finger and both tendons, the profound and superficial. And then a local doctor said, I will fix it. He did fix it, but he break the needle and left the needle in the wound. And on that year, I went to England, and I was assisting to a sir of neurosurgery, but of course, my finger was bending backward, and he was very tough with me. He said, oh, you Yugoslavs, you're so lazy, you cannot help me. I said, no, this is not a problem, but I cannot flex my distal interphalangeal joint. At the end of surgery, he said, show me. Then we went to a plastic surgeon in England, and we made an X-ray of my finger, and he saw this needle inside, which was concave like this, and I didn't feel it because it was very swollen. Then he took the needle out and he said, back home, they will fix it. They did. 25 years later, I learned that I was the only one among 25 operations this plastic surgeon performed, which was successful. 24 were not successful. So I was somehow condemned to become a surgeon. Then after coming back from England in 1966, Britannia Airways crashed in Ljubljana airport. Almost 100 people died, but the rest of them were brought to our hospital. And I was a student who just came from England, and I went to the hospital as a volunteer to help. And then after that, when everything was solved, the death people were identified, and the victims who were treated in the hospital also were sent back home. And then Mr. Mackenzie, who was at that time consul in Yugoslavia, he came to our hospital and he said, Britain would like to help you. What do you need? And then one professor said, I need scalpel, the other one needed whatever. And the first neurosurgeon in Ljubljana, who was, by the way, a colleague, working with Louis Vincent in France, who was the first neurosurgeon in France, he said, I need operating microscope. What? Yes, I need microscope because we don't have it, but you have to buy it in Western Germany by Opton, because it does not exist in England. And then Mr. Mackenzie, he jumped. He said, nothing exists in the world what has not been created in England. And my professor said, I'm sorry, my ignorance. And then Mackenzie also came down. He realized that he was exaggerating. He said, sir, let's make a deal. Give me 3 months and I will find out if in Great Britain we have a microscope. You will get it. If not, we will buy it for you in Germany, Western Germany at that time. 3 months later, we got a very funny microscope from England. And this was EECK, X microscope, operating, which was not used by neurosurgeons, but by ENT surgeons. And neurosurgeons in England, they started with microsurgery 10 years later than the first departments in Europe, as was Zurich and so on. And with this old microscope, I sutured over 400 peripheral nerves. So we got these microscopes in 1967. Then in 1968, I was able to reconstruct the first peripheral nerve, which was not so easy, because to convince at that time the professional people that it will be better if we look through the microscope, we have a magnification, we'll be able to perform better reconstruction than with the naked eye. They didn't believe this. This was not in the books. So again, a happy event happened. I met one day a classmate from the grammar school, and he was very, very unhappy. I said, what is wrong with you? He said, look, my hand is falling down. My radial nerve is not functioning. And they said, nothing can be done. And this was my chance. In that moment, I said, go back, tell them to write this, put it down. He went back, and there was a traumatologist who saw him again. He said, I cannot do nothing for you, go out. No, 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 sir, I know. Just sign this, please. Okay, if you'd like, he signed. So then, illegally, I operated him. During the night, I made the reconstruction of the radial nerve. And of course, later on, I saw that radial nerve is recuperating very well. 6 months later, this man came again back and went to the same doctor and showed him, look, I can extend my wrist. What? Who did this for you? And he said, your younger colleague. So this traumatologist became my first friend. And then he helped me to convince the other surgical staff that we need microsurgery. And then it is so, at the beginning, they don't give you the chances. But if you succeed, they overwhelm you. Okay, now you know this, now you suture the nerves. And at that time, we were part of Yugoslavia. And I got all the peripheral nerves from the whole country. So I was, in a few years, I was working only on the peripheral nerves. I said, it doesn't go like this. I have to distribute it. And then I organized some courses, microsurgical courses of peripheral nerves and small arteries repair in this decade. Before, I was at a meeting in Vienna. This was the first microsurgical meeting ever. And Neurosurg presented his microscope, which was guided by leaps, by electromagnetic. And from that time on, it was much easier. So I got experience with peripheral nerves repair. And then professor of neurosurgery, the old one, he called me and he said one day, look, this is the aneurysm. Bring the microscope and fix it. So it was upside down. In nowadays, residents are positioning the patient, they are doing the craniotomy, and then they are also doing some dissections, and then the big professor comes and fix the aneurysm, and then they do the rest. But with this, my old professor was just the opposite. He said, I cannot deal with the microscope. Do it. So I did. And that's why I consider him my second father. And this was in 1974. And then I was again illegally treated aneurysms during the night. When a patient with suffering hemorrhage came to the hospital, they said, because it was doctrine like this, that those patients had to be at neurology for 6 weeks. So the natural selection did the job, but they did not admit this. But one day, they were meeting a patient, young one, about 30 years old, completely alert, normal, but who was already 6 weeks in neurology. He was programmed for next day, but next morning he was dead because he had second bleeding. So because of that, I said, no, we have not to wait. We have to operate as soon as possible. And this was in 1976. Believe or not, at 1981, I had already 300 aneurysms operating during the night, almost illegally. And this was the largest cities at the time. And it was so difficult to convince people. Look, if you have a hematoma at the skull base, where the vital structures are, and this clot is pushing, the brainstem is pushing hypothalamic regions and so on, we don't operate. When we have a small epidural or subdural hematoma at the convexity, we are rushing to the operating theater. So we have to understand. And they said, no, but this is not written in the books. But who is writing the books? We, people. According to this, what we realized. And that's why I say that it is so important to be at the right time, at the right place, to meet the right people, and to be aware of the moment. And equally important, to be, oh sorry, what is wrong? To follow the rule of 86,400. Nowadays, everybody is talking about money. Money is everything. We have to go to the job to get money. We have to do this to get money. We have to trade to get money. But this is, I translated this. This is the amount of money every person gets every day from the bank without paying interest back. The only condition is to spend this $86,000, $400 each day. The next day you will get the same amount. But these are actually not the dollars. These are the seconds of our life. Now, if you think how much of time we lose every day for stupid things, not thinking, not doing real things, and so on. So when we are focused on something, when we follow our goal, and we spend as much as possible of this grant from the life, we can be more successful. My personal journey with the Cavernous Sinus, why it started? In 1978, an incidental finding, large carotid ophthalmic aneurysm was admitted. Young lady, and at that time we had already a new chief in neurosurgery, and he said, "You did some aneurysms. Would you help me?" I said, "But sir, this is a complicated aneurysm. It's very close to the bone." To make the story shorter, the aneurysm ruptured. We ended up with packing aneurysm and the artery. The lady died. Surgery, intraoperative rupture. Clipping, not possible. He said, impossible. Packing, outcome back. Then I was thinking, what to do? There were thousands of ifs. The surgeon who did surgery, he has all kinds of explanations why it was not possible. But there was not even one thought how it could be possible. if there is no other way to than to do this way with these aneurysms, then this is not the place for me. I said to myself, then go out of neurosurgery. Do not accept the defeat too early. My second soul taught me. Do not accept to be the carrier of the genome only. Do something in your life. And to surrender to what? To the neurosurgical norms, to the ignorance. To whom? To the family. Because family is always behind you. And the family is pulling you back. Everybody is at home already. You're still in the hospital. What are you doing? So you're always in the conflict. But at the end of the month, they ask you where the money is. Why you have no better salary? And or to surrender to yourself, it's very difficult because this hurts too much. And you carry all the life that you did not what you thought you could do, or at least to intend to do. The answer was no surrender. The world is resting on ignorance, unfortunately, still today, because more we know, more we don't know, more challenges are. Blind believing is easier than to check and find the correct answer. This is the easy way. If you accept what the rules are, okay, you will have a peaceful life and you will not head over the troubles. And then I was thinking that the idea without action is like a dream. Action without idea is like to get out of the step. If you're repeating something, if you're doing something, if you have not idea what you can achieve with this, then you are on the right place, on the right step. But action is a positive. Idea with correct action is a positive difference between them. So you have to carry on a constant fight against yourself and against the other world. Different approach in thinking and in acting was my consideration at the time. Forget the previous beliefs regarding the no man's land and prove that there is no man's land. Nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. Because you have so much time, 86,400 seconds per day. How? New ideas. And then I said to myself, don't be arrogant. You're not the only person who has ideas. Ideas were already before. And the answer was to read, read, and read. And then I came to the literature in this respect, and I found Taptas. He was spending the whole, actually not the complete, but several years in the Second World War in Paris, because he could not travel to Greece from where he was. So he spent his time in the lab, in the anatomy lab, and he was studying the skull base coverings, dura, nerves, and so on. He also published this later on. Then I found the Glasgow's, sorry. I found the Glasgow's publication. It was published in Nobel Symposia in Stockholm. He published his work as a thesis. He's an ENT surgeon in California, and he explored the petrous part of the bone, of the artery, the carotid artery. So it was where the carotid artery comes up and makes the posterior loop over the foramen lacerum. Here, he was opening this, and he published it. He said maybe it can be used later on for some bypass or something like this. When I told this to Dr. Sant at Mayo Clinic, he said, Glasgow, he was his classmate. He said, we never gave him such a credit. Then Parkinson. Parkinson did a lot of work in the cavernous sinus also. That's why we call one triangle Parkinson's triangle. And of course, Roton. And then the most what can be achieved in the anatomy is to understand it. And the most what can be achieved in surgery is to make the practical use of the anatomy. We are just dealing inside the frame of the anatomy, normal or pathological. We are not doing nothing biological. And for that reason, I realized that I have to study the skull base. I have to study the ICA, how it is running, the cranial nerves, triangular entry areas, venous compartments, and so on. I had to learn how to get rid of the anterior cranial process to gain some space in front of the aneurysm. Then posterior cranial process, but safely. Get space around the ICA and dissect the ICA and the optic nerve. Get the control of the blood flow in the ICA through the cavernous sinus segment, which was actually a hint from Peacock already. And then, you know, these pictures, you can see, you can see that we are dealing here around the anterior loop of the carotid artery. We expose the ophthalmic artery, and then we can deal very nicely with the aneurysm because we have proximal control, either here or in the petrous bone or in the neck. We learn that there are some membranes. Something is wrong. There are some membranes. They are dividing the cavernous sinus from the other compartment. They are the nerves, the third, the fourth, the V1, and so on. And the whole, and we learned about the venous compartments and the venous drainage, where the drainage goes to the superior petrous sinus. And this is the originally Peacock's exploration of the carotid in the petrous bone. But then I said, here is everything. We know how to get rid of the anterior conduit. We can put the clip there. Here, we can put a clip here, and then there is no flow through the cavernous sinus. Then we can get out the tumor, we can get out the aneurysm, whatever. And then I presented this at the Munich meeting in 1981. About 3,000 participants, they were whispering, he is crazy, he is insane, he is not normal. Put him into the psychiatric asylum. There were only 2 people in the whole auditorium who said, maybe it is something for this. And then I got to the conclusion that not to give up, but to convince people, neurosurgeons. But how to convince them? Because I consider myself like in the jungle. I was cutting the narrow passage through the jungle. But then I turned back and I saw there was an avenue behind me already. But then I realized that many followers on this highway, they are driving without license. So they have to practice. It's not enough to go to one course. It's not enough to try once. No, you have to go to the lab, you have to do this again and again and again to realize what is in reality this anatomy. This is not just a step sideways. No. This is a completely new issue. Then I tried to publish in 1983. Finally, I was able to publish the direct microsurgical repair of intracavernous vascular lesions, but there was incredible resistance because I was on the other side of the Iron Curtain, and I presented something clinical. If I would present something science, basic science, they would allow me. But I stepped on the toe of somebody who was somehow interested for this kind of surgery. And I spent a lot of time to rewrite, to change text and so on, because I was advised this way by one of the editorial members. I said, I have no chance. He said, no, just rewrite, polish a little bit, and so on. So then it was accepted. And then the second publication in 1985, which was a combined epi and subdural direct approach to the growth of the aneurysms. Less resistance, better. And then it was not enough, because at the neurosurgical meetings, when I was talking about this, that some big authorities, they were asking me a lot of things, but you cannot answer in 5 minutes. So I said, it is necessary to organize a meeting. So I did in Ljubljana, and then to write the book and to publish. And then your burden is off your shoulders. But in the meantime, after first meeting, we were practicing with the aneurysm surgery, carotid ophthalmic, intracavernous, vascular tip, large and giant intradural. And again, I was telling to the visitors that practice without theory is like to sail an uncharted sea, while theory without practice is like not to go to the sea at all. So it means you need theory, you need to learn from the books, from the lab, and then you can start surgeries. Pioneers of the approaches to the individual aneurysms, you can count them. Simon, Sujita, Yuka, and finally myself. Who is allowed to break the rules? Who is at the cutting edge? I cannot go today or tomorrow, and certainly not in my age anymore, to Mount Everest. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared. And he was prepared with his thousands of aneurysms of posterior circulation. And the principal problem of the approaches, working space around the aneurysm and within the vital structures. New approaches needed in thinking and in acting. Carotid ophthalmic aneurysms. Again, when you have this situation, then you can go around the aneurysm. You can put the proximal control and also the distal. And then you can do this preoperative, postoperative. This one was treated in some other centers, but they could not occlude it, neither with balloon, and the patient was almost hemisymptomatic. And then I operated it in the Ashagil's operating theater. You see another one here, big one, and you see the. And I learned something. I learned that the usual cut of the dura exposed too much brain. And when you are focused at the bottom, that is at the where the aneurysm is, then you forget what is on the way, on the corridor toward there. But if you cut the dura this way, then the dura will protect you not to be too rough to the aneurysm, to the brain. And you see, you even don't need to explore the aneurysm. This is the optic nerve. I explored the artery in the anterior loop, and here, and then I put the clip. You can put more clips sometimes. And you can also dissect the aneurysm and reconstruct it. But what is important here, you have to preserve the ophthalmic artery. So clipping, small, large, and so on, in 84%, and in the large, giant, in the was aneurysm resected and the artery reconstructed. Now, paracellular, because carotid ophthalmic region, this is just the entry point to the paracellular space to the carotid, to the cavernous sinus. And this is the series of the aneurysms we had. And you see, unless you know the anatomy, you cannot trace the carotid in the cavernous sinus and the whole aneurysm. And this is the post-operative result. Ophthalmic is preserved. Similar here, resection, and then reconstruction and ophthalmic reserve. Another one, resection and reconstruction. We do these aneurysms exclusively extradurally. And here is the proof. We were not very precise in evaluating this aneurysm, and we overlooked this part. It's not part of the aneurysm. It is separate aneurysm, which is still there after surgery. And this is the reconstructed carotid. Paracellular space ICA aneurysms, why to operate? Absolute indications. Bilateral, fusiform, traumatic. Bilateral, on one side, big one. If something goes wrong with this carotid artery, then the contralateral intracavernous aneurysm will grow exponentially. And that's why the patency should be preserved. Then the fusiform aneurysms are very, very large, extending from cavernous sinus into the intradural space. And after reconstructing this aneurysm, we achieved to create the carotid. Traumatic. It is impossible to come through the cavernous sinus, through the sphenic sinus, and to fix this aneurysm here, which is not real aneurysm. It is aneurysma spuria, only blood held with some fascia. Other absolute indications for the paracellular ICA reconstruction, when the ICA is transected, lacerated, transpersed, or diseased. Complete transection of the carotid. With endovascular technique, you might have big problems to find the distal stump. With interposition of the high flow, short high flow graft, you can rebuild, reconstruct the flow. Transpersed carotid in the cavernous sinus with the nail. And this is after surgery. This was the intraoperative situation. We prepared the anterior loop. We prepared the posterior loop. So you put the clip here and here, no bleeding, you reconstruct the artery. You see, this is before, sorry. This is before surgery, and this is after surgery. So this is also not for endovascular. Could be maybe for bypass, but not for endovascular. And when the disease, the artery is diseased, and it is usually when the intracavernous aneurysms are partially occluded by a clot, then also the artery is not normal. So this is pre-operative, after resection of the aneurysm, reconstructed the carotid with the short high flow graft. These are the statistics. Mortality 1%. Indication for surgery of vascular tip aneurysms. Large angina, complex, failed after multiple coiling or stenting. Prior to operate on vascular deep aneurysm, I would advise to everybody to be familiar with the aneurysm surgery along the corridor. It means to be able to fix the MCA aneurysm, distal ICA aneurysm, and of course carotonic aneurysm. How to enlarge the intradural space, opening the severe fissure and shifting of the wall of the cavernous sinus laterally. We go extradurally, and then we expose this anterior space. Then this is a diagram how to resect the anterior clanide process and spheric wing, the posterior clanide process, and then you come to the posterior fossa. And this is the direct line between the intradural and intracavernous, the horizontal segments of the carotid artery. Why so? Because sometimes perforators from the carotid artery are very, very important and numerous. And if you push the carotid artery laterally, you strengthen, you stretch these perforators, but they are unforgivable. There will be problems after surgery. So, and when you remove the posterior clanide process, you get a lot of space between the third nerve and the carotid. And when you push the carotid medially, you relax these perforators. So again, extradural exposure of the anterior loop, and then also expose the posterior loop and come to the posterior fossa, where you can advance then along the trunk of the vascular artery, and then you have from both sides the approach. Again, the same approach, the same, and then how to get rid of the posterior clanide. This is the anatomy lab. Remove it, but you expose also the pituitary body and intradural, intracavernous segment of the carotid and intradural carotid. This is the dural ring, this is the proximal ring. You remove it. The line is then direct. You visualize the bifurcation of the vascular tip, and then if you need more, you resect more of the wall of the cella, and then you can put also the clip on the vascular artery. Here, this I learned from the experimental work of Bentivoglio, who did this on the apes. And he was studying this, and he said, if you put the clip on the vascular trunk above the superior cerebral artery for 3 minutes, and then you take the clip off. And in these 3 minutes, you make the dissection of the aneurysm. Or later on, we realized that it would be easier to come with the balloon into the vascular trunk and to be ready. When we are there, then the balloon can be inflated and the circulation stopped for a while. With this technique, so-called intermittent transient clipping, we can deal with deep aneurysms. Mind the perforators. And you see here, before surgery, And you see here after the surgery, and you see the perforators. These perforators are unforgivable. If you put the clip on them, patient will not do well. Similar case. This is a case which was foiled twice, but then the aneurysm grew and he had bleeding again. So he came to me and he asked me if I can do it. And of course, it was possible to resect the aneurysm and to put a clip and to do the extirpation of the aneurysm. But mind complications in this job, first ICA. Why? Because you are dealing with a normal cavernous sinus, and then you have a bleeding. In nowadays, you just put this fibrin glue. But at the time when I was doing this, I had to put a surgicel, and to stop the venous bleeding, I create stenosis of the carotid. And the patient, when woke up, was just trying to move and then was moving diagonally in the bed. I said, let's make the angiography. And they performed the vertebral angiography. I said, no, carotid, because vertebral, we know it is okay. The clip was there, you see? So we have to reoperate and we have to take the surgery out and to loosen it. Complications number 2, normal cavernous sinus, venous bleeding, and closure of the cavernous sinus. How do we do this? You see, there is an interconnection between the intracellular venous blood and the cavernous sinus. There are some fenestra in this region. So when this is the point, and when we have too much bleeding, we have to perform after resection of the anterior to posterior clinoid a closure of the medial wall of the cavernous sinus. Complications 3, CSF leak and spasm from ECOM and vascular aneurysm artery perforators, and then how to deal with the large angina. So in this kind of surgery of the basilar teeth, we think to safely remove the anterior and posterior clinoid, get space around the ICA, dissect the ICA and get space around the distal basilar artery at its bifurcation, visualize the P1, SCA, and cranial nerves. Aneurysms and perforators get ample working space. Surgery of basilar teeth aneurysms is one-way road. Mind your own physiology. Don't smoke, don't drink, sleep enough if you're operating next day. Work slowly. Intermittent drilling, cooling, revising. Hence, reflection off from the brain and the vessels. The perforators do not tolerate any clipping. To improve oneself a bit necessitates a lot of work in the lab. Surgery of the basilar teeth aneurysm is not an art. It is the most difficult task, which does require one's optimal psychophysical capability. Neurosurgeon is not a superman or superwoman. Everybody can do it if does invest enough. neurosurgeons should not be superstitious and or believers. They should be psychophysically prepared. These are, for me, the most important things. Now, rare situations, large and giant intradural aneurysms. This aneurysm is much easier to exclude it, and in particular in the case where you do not have ACA1, you have no cross circulation. So you have to remove this big aneurysm and preserve the carotid artery here and the internal patent and normal. Another case where I made a mistake, it is a large intradural aneurysm of the carotid and very tiny flow. And here I learned that the wall of the artery in such cases is much thicker than in normal artery. So if you calculate the outer diameter of the artery, it does not mean that inner diameter where the flow goes is sufficient. And this happened in this case. You see the anterior and then the middle cerebral artery are elevated before surgery, preoperative contralateral carotid injection. Is placed in stenotic left MCA. Post-operative contralateral carotid injection of the contralateral is less displaced of the left MCA and better filling of the artery. Occluded left ICA. Here is the distal stump of the internal carotid artery stump. But the patient was doing well. Similar case, before surgery and after surgery. Here, because of this judgment about the diameter, we miscalculated and we lost the posterior communicating artery, which is here nicely seen. We were calculating on this, but not precisely enough. And this is a huge tumor-like ACOM aneurysm with striated clots, different ages, and very strange DCA. And then with other technique, we realized that there is no ACA on one side. So we had to resect the aneurysm. We had to take the bone away and then to come underneath the brain and to resect the aneurysm, create the ACOM, and then the ACA2 on the other side was filled through this reconstructed ACOM. And here is post-operative because on the other side there is no anterior cerebral artery. First, second. Suggestion, joint forces, bigger centers, large volume of patients, individual planning between neurologists, neuroradiologists, endovascular, and neurosurgeons. Tumors. I'm always advocating remove the anterior planning process. But then the visitors who were there, they said, but sir, why don't you remove the anterior planning here? I said, are you blind? Don't you see that they are pneumatized? And if I remove the anterior planning, I create the corridor for CSF. So what you have and what you can't do here is to remove the outer shell of the bone. and then to remove the tumor. The tumors of the apex of the pyramid bulging into the brain stem, you have to come around, you have to come down, remove the apex of the pyramid, remove the tumor, and then the brain stem is released. This is the same patient. You see how it is reshaping later on the brain stem. Another case, the tumor is in the cavernous sinus outside and is removed. Here's a case where we remove the tumor behind the root of the fifth nerve. And one could say, oh, this is enough. The tumor was here, so, but this is not enough because the tumor is bulging anteriorly, and we had to go anteriorly from the root of the fifth nerve. We have eradicated tumor from the brainstem, from the posterior side of the V1, from the cancerian ganglion. We visualize the sixth nerve from brainstem to the cavernous sinus, and that's the complete removal. Another case, similar. Evolution of the approach to the central skull base. Believe or not, I was so stupid. I was watching this dura, I was watching these intradural compartments and structures, and it did not come to my mind that I could cut this dura connecting the periorbital, and I would get much more space. So, and then I started to come from this approach to this approach, more posteriorly. And then I also stopped cutting the muscle. We go around the muscle so that the insertion of the muscle is there, and then you have no deficit on in the temple after surgery. And so we are doing so-called post-muscular flap. And in the book of 1989, we were using still intradural approach, you see, which was stupid. So I went to the dura intradurally, and then I came here, and then I went again extra. Why not to push a little bit and to present? And then this was revised and the new approach. So these are different segments of the approach. I call it general approach to the skull base, and then you either use the anterior or middle or posterior entry into the intradural space. Positioning location. This is you move the table, Grandel, and so on, and then you also rotate the table left, right, and then you rotate you move the microscope on one side. Then you can reach each corner. See, we move rotate the table to the left, and we move the microscope to the right, and vice versa. Craniotomy, we change the craniotomy, but it's not so important. Then we go around the insertion of the temporalis muscle, and then we trim the squama down and we get more space to cover the skull base. And then again, usual approach from the anterior side, second vein, superior with the fissure, and then laterally, and then more, and then cutting this applicator, and finally you have a anterior canine process and the lateral wall of the cavernous sinus, and then anterior canine process can be easily drilled off from extradural side. And then you visualize the anterior loop, you visualize this section of the anterior canine process, and you see the anterior canine. You expose also the posterior loop, and then you have everything under control. You can go to the posterior process. How to assess the progress and importance of the cavernous sinus surgery during the 2 decades? I decided to organize a second cavernous sinus meeting, 1986, 2006, in Ljubljana. And then all these people who were working in the cavernous sinus came, and they showed their results. So somehow the progress was assessed and the future vistas were put down. Second symposium, and from this symposium, we also published a book. And this book from 2003 and from 2006, these two are translated into Chinese language, which I'm very, very proud of. And, so we can communicate better. But I'm aware what I said at the beginning. Nothing is complete. Nothing is definite. Everything is changing, and neurosurgery is not an exception. We have to be aware of this. We have to deflate our ego. Nothing what we introduced into neurosurgery is forever. No, this will be replaced, this will be improved, this will be changed, because new generations, new people are coming. And that's why, don't forget this, one should not be proud of what he, she has achieved, but could only be happy that he, she has been an active member in the process. Because nothing is definite. And my final book, I put the things together, and I put this title, To Neurosurgery with Love and Passion. And I had to put also another title below, Nemo Propheta in Patria. You can teach the rest of the world, but it's difficult to teach your people in your village. Thank you very much.